Eyup Cock, today we are going to rank every manager in the Premier League. Now, I'm pre-recording this because at the time of you watching, I'm on holiday. So anybody could be sacked, but I'd be very surprised because we'll have played like, what, 2 games? But we'll have a look at the categories. We've got goodness me at the bottom. Bandit, can't decide, good, great, very nice. And then, well, where is he? There he is, shiny ball dead. Let's just stick him in there now. Pep is best manager in this league and we'll just get that out of the way nice and early and move on. Now, this has got to be rated on a few different things. Obviously, past achievements, like relative what they've done at a certain level of club, for example. But ultimately, how good they are right now does take cake for a lot of this. And we'll move bottom upwards with the goodness me category. Now, I've only got one in here, and it feels very harsh to do it because it is his first manager job. But Keith Andrews of Brentford has got to go in there. Like I said, it's his first job. He's been assistant manager in a few different places, or at Sheffield United, and then obviously coming to Brentford as a set-piece coach. I do think he suits Brentford as a club and as an infrastructure, and I think that they will stay up like fairly easily as well in comparison to 3 teams that have been promoted, Leeds, Sunderland, Burnley. But Keith Andrews, from an actual tactical manager's perspective, I don't think he'll be rate cracking. I just think the team that they've got, which is, I've obviously got them staying up, but I think the team that they've got in comparison to the 3 they've come up is just so much better, to the point where it's almost the man above the manager at Brentford that makes it all so good and runs so successfully. Obviously, I'm going to put people in bandit category that I think are terrible, but they've actually achieved things, so I can't put Keith Andrews above anybody. So top and bottom are out to way nice and early. Now, I have got 4 different gaffers in the bandit category. And first one that I'm going to get out of the way now is the greaseball himself, Daniel Farke. Now, do I think he had a fair shot at Premier League in the 2 seasons that he's been here before? Not really. Obviously, he got promoted twice with Norwich from Championship. He won League twice and then finished bottom in Premier League twice. But it's relative to squad level that he had in both leagues at time. Obviously, when he won League with Norwich both times, you're looking at, well, probably 2 at best players to ever grace League in Pukki and Buendia that were there. And then obviously in Premier League, yes, you immediately are the underdog then. You've gone from big fish, small pond to exact opposite when you get into Premier League. But they never, ever looked like they had a chance once. And I do think that does come down to level of squad as well. But he's never overachieved, I don't think, with anybody ever. I think all I've ever seen him do personally, despite obviously winning league again with Leeds, so he's done it 3 times now, all I've ever seen him do is underachieve with certain teams. I know they got 90 odd points, Leeds, last season when they lost to Southampton at Wembley. But they finished below League One newly promoted Ipswich. I know they're very good, and Kieran McKenna is just white floor with someone like Farke. But I've never seen him overachieve. I've seen him win league with 3 sides that you'd expect to win league, and I've seen him underachieve with Leeds as well. So just based on that and the obvious fact that he's a knob and I don't like him, I've got Daniel Farke as a bandit. But he's not the only bandit. We're going from one extreme to the other here. Long hair, but at least Scott Parker uses shampoo. Yeah, honestly, exact same reasoning, if I'm being completely real. I've only ever seen him underachieve. The Fulham side that he got promoted with was arguably one at best ever in terms of Championship. Well, similar to what Farke's dealt with. But Parker and his agent are very good at finding specific jobs that you almost can't fail at. He got Bournemouth promoted, he got Fulham promoted, he's got Burnley promoted. And then to get that Fulham side relegated took some doing, because I think they had a great side. Obviously, I wouldn't blame him for anything that happens to Burnley this season, because he's not really got a chance. But just based on previous roles that he's had, and I know he's had a lot of promotions in his time at Championship, but he's also failed at Fulham at the same time, so I've got to have him in bandit category. I can't put him higher, but he is better than Farke, so I will put him. I'll do it like that, and we'll go right to left, I guess. Third bandit. Where are you? I'm trying to find him in here. Oh, there he is. He's got his Chelsea background, but Graham Potter, really good at Brighton, but I do think again, maybe quite similar to Brentford, the people above you at these 2 clubs, and maybe Bournemouth as well, do take a lot of the plaudits in terms of they will go and find the players, and the manager often don't get a lot of say on them. So they will be brought in, and then you just have to deal with what you're working with, which has its own struggles as well. I do agree with that. But Potter were fantastic at Brighton and awful at Chelsea. And that's no slight to him, because obviously managers that I've got much higher up that are currently at smaller, lesser sides, if they go and fail at a big team, I can't then just use this same logic. But it's the fact that he's gone to West Ham, and I immediately just think he looks out of his depth already. He just doesn't inspire me at all, you know. That's what it is. There's no aura there. There's no like presence. But Potter's is like certified bandit. It's got to be said. I mean, he could have just gone and lived in Bahamas forever, couldn't he? But at least he wants to have another go after Chelsea sacking. I just think West Ham's too big, personally. And then the 4th and final bandit, which makes him 5th bottom for me, and I do believe they finished there in the league last season, I've got Ruben Amorim of Manchester United. Now, it's not the Man United of old. He's not going and managing Rooney and Scholes and Keane and all these boys. He's managing this current crop of idiots. But one thing that annoys me more than anything in this world is a manager that refuses to change his tactical shape just because that's his identity. All right, we get it. You've got the Man United move. It might have worked at loads of other clubs like Russell Martins. There's a lot of these type of boys that fail at the club, but because they've got 80% possession, will move up in table. And I do think he's one of these. Obviously, he's been brought in to play this specific way at Man United. So, similar to like Maresca as well at Chelsea. Emry has been brought in to play that way. But if it's not working and you've got the Manchester United finishing 15th, please change something. They've obviously brought in a lot of attacking talent this season, but he's still going to try same tactical setup with defence that's exact same. Unless I made some signings in these areas from me recording it to this game posted. But who truly knows? I just don't believe that crop of players that Man United have got can play the way he wants, and he's still just going to make them run out and do the exact same thing again, even to the detriment at club, and the fact that they could very easily just finish bottom half again. Long term, it might work. Like, you look at Chelsea, for example, and Maresca, weren't really cracking first year with him, but this time I think they look very good. But Chelsea have brought the players in to be able to do what Maresca wants. Man United have not done it back to front with Emry, and I don't like that about gaffers. So to me, Emry is a certified bandit. Moving up into the can't decide, I'm going to put 3 of them in here at once. Oh, they're all lined up for me. I've got Regis Labrie of Sunderland. I've got Pereira of Wolves and Hulala of Brighton, the young'un. Now, I've got a little bit more to go with for Labrie because obviously I watch a lot more at Championship than Premier League anyway. And I think he tactically outclassed a lot of managers last season. But that was Championship. This is a different ball game. Sunderland have brought a lot of players in, and I wouldn't blame him if they get relegated at all. Literally got no expectation for any of 3 sides at all. But I think it was his first year in English football. There's not loads and loads to go off right now, whereas there is with a lot of other managers. So I'm going to have to put him in the can't decide. I do like him, but I can't really decide whether it belongs up in here yet. Same as Pereira at Wolves. Obviously, he were brought into a bit of a shit show. There's the Cunha situation where he wants out. But again, I think Wolves look quite good from the bits that I've seen. But he's only been here for, what, 6 months of the season? Well, second half of season, more or less. That were only time Maria weren't it? So it's just one of them where I've not got enough to gauge on him yet. I've not got enough of an opinion right now to have on him to justify where he should go. And I don't think the Cunha loss will mean anything to him, because obviously when they were out, they were performing more like a team, Wolves, and they went on a really good run. So I do like him, and I think Wolves are a bit away from danger, but I just can't decide yet. And same as the Brighton fella, he's been here a bit longer, and I do expect quite a lot from Brighton, but it's the age aspect that I can't really get over. I think it's just my own bias here, because I do think he's a good gaffer, and they look tactically very switched on, as you would expect with Brighton, and the squad's very good. But I expect big things from them this season. Like, I don't think they're even underdogs. I think they should be a favourite to challenge for Europe here, definitely. And if they don't do it, I think that is a failure. So I can't decide as of right now. I am liking all 3 of these, but others are more established. I've got more of an opinion. I've seen more of them. So I've got them 3 in the can't decide category. Right, getting into the goods. I will start with another long-hair merchant. I've got Thomas Frank. I think people were expecting me to put him a lot higher, and I do think a lot of other people will put him a lot higher. Succeeded at Brentford consistently after the initial failure. They should have got promoted in first place. It's not all being like, oh, sunshine and rainbows for Frank, because a lot of other teams, I think, would have sacked him after they didn't get promoted with Watkins and Buemo, Benrahma. They had an absolute super team in Championship. Pinnock at back, who's still there now. They had so many. I think they had Raya at net, Arsenal's keeper. They had a great side and they didn't get promoted. So that were a failure. And I do think a lot of other teams that aren't as intelligent really upstairs as Brentford are would have probably shotgun a bit too early. Now, he's obviously a great manager, Thomas Frank. He's had them comfortably away from danger every year. We're constant merry-go-round of players. But like I said, a lot of other managers have quite a say on that. And I feel like at Brentford, you get next to none. It feels like the people above him, like same as I said for Keith Andrews, it feels like the people above the manager at Brentford are the real heroes of that club and the people who should be getting all plaudits. And we'll obviously see when he goes to Tottenham, because they spent a lot of money, but they are making Europa League level signings. So if they get in there, I think that's just more or less what's expected. They won the thing last year, even though they finished 17th, but and through the domestic year under bust, they need to try and win European trophy. Thomas Frank coming in with a clean slate. I'm expecting quite a lot from him because Tottenham's side really ain't that bad. And I do like him as a manager. Like I said, previous years at Brentford, he's been outstanding for him. It's the best period that they've ever had in their history. So I've got nothing against him, but I just think I would class him as a good manager for this division, nothing higher. And I've got a couple other ones in here that I just think people are well off it, you know. And I do think that just because they're at a certain level of club don't mean that they're automatically a fantastic manager because of it. Well, they are, but they don't deserve to be up and like talking to Pep just because they manage a certain team. Like obviously the better managers are at the better sides, apart from in certain circumstances, and I think Arteta is that. What's he been there now? 5 years properly. They've had one serious Premier League run in. And I think that's it, where they were top for a little bit and then they ended up bottling it. But I'm truly not convinced. I think from open play after 5 years, you should be stringing quite a lot of chances every week against teams. And I do think against the stronger sides, they struggle from open play. They're very reliant on set pieces and they've got such a tall side which benefits that. But I think no serious run, like they've had no Champions League final. They've had one proper Premier League title race, which they lost. And they've not really lit cups up domestically in the last couple of years. I think that other managers I'm going to put on this level could have done the same, if not more, at Arsenal as what Arteta has. And I'll just put them in now so you see what I mean. Like Eddie Howe at Newcastle and Iraola at Bournemouth are the other two managers that I've got in the good category. Eddie Howe with Newcastle, obviously they're chucking some money at it now, but he was still doing quite well even before they had that. And I think obviously the previous success at Bournemouth, despite again chucking loads of money at it from League 2 all the way upwards. But Eddie Howe is a great manager. He's qualified for Champions League twice. And, well, he's won a Carabao Cup, hasn't he? Have they won the same amount of, like, major trophies, non-community shields, Arteta and Eddie Howe? One with Arsenal and one with Newcastle at squad level that they both got. And same as Iraola. Obviously, we're talking about completely contrasting budgets here. Bournemouth have sold effectively all the defence from this season. And I didn't think that were even much of a strong point. I think they were very good across pitch. But to me, Bournemouth's strengths do come from top end. But the money they're spending compared to Newcastle is quite a big gulp, and the money that Newcastle spend in comparison to Arsenal is an even bigger one. And I think they've all achieved roughly the same in terms of what you would expect. But I would say on an absolute serious level now that Arteta is probably the bottom of this list. I think it would probably go something like that in terms of overachievement comparison to expectations at the club that they're at. You expect Arsenal to consistently be challenging for all trophies, and if we're being completely serious, they haven't. You expect Brentford to be in a relegation battle, and a lot of time they've been away from that. You expect Bournemouth to be away from a relegation battle, and since Areola's took over, they've been way away from it. You expect Newcastle, I think the realistic expectation for Newcastle with the current squad is to maybe at a push challenge for Champions League, but defo get some form of Europe, and they've been in Champions League twice. I think they've all achieved more than what Arteta has. But I'm not going to sit and talk about this all day. I've made my point now. I've said my piece. Let's just get on to the greats. First one that goes in here that I think people disagree with just because he's a bit older is Moyes. Failed at Man United. But, like, did he really? Like, you're following someone who was there for 20 years in Sir Alex. I think it's quite difficult to follow Elvis in that regard. At Everton before, he had him top half consistently, challenging or in Europe, like fairly often. He went to West Ham, won him the first trophy in donkeys, and it was a European one as well. He's a great manager. He went to Everton, who've been in relegation battles for the last few years. Just immediately snap your hand, you're off. You're just away from this instantly. David Moyes is a fantastic manager and he's one of the best in this division. I stand by it. Another two really that have sold me more recently. Glasner, I know he's not been there forever at Palace, but again, Palace have never won a major trophy in their entire life. Then they go and win FA Cup, beating a very good side in final, and then I know Community Shield's not a major trophy, but it's another one that you can put in your cabinet anyway, because it was quite bare before. To win two trophies in space of 4 months when you've not won one in like forever, you just can't ignore that. I know they've got a really, really top side, Crystal Palace, and you almost expect more from them with the players that they've got. But I think in Europe this season, I genuinely think this time next year we will be looking at Crystal Palace as European trophy holders in Conference League, and a lot of that is down to this man, how he sets up, how he manages his team. Glasner's very good. And another one who I was not convinced on in the slightest at the start is Maresca. I know he won league at Leicester, and that's my bread and butter. I love Championship, but take it from someone then who watches it all the time. Leicester seriously were not that good in terms of how they played in league. They were very one-dimensional. They had best players in league by an absolute mile. That team, I know we're talking about like some at best ever in comparison to like Leeds, and the Fulham one actually were with Scott Parker. But that Leicester one, just outrageous depth and quality start to finish, which you'd expect from a team that's been in Premier League for years, won the thing, and were in Europe for a couple of years after it. They went from one to other extremes really quick. But the team that they had in Championship were a joke. They were absolutely outrageous. And I think he's one of them that got the job just based on, well, how he likes to play, because I don't even think they were actually that good at it. They dominated every stat possible in Championship because they had best players by a mile, and I didn't think he deserved move at time. Now, it's clear to see why I don't work as a director for a football club. These type of managers are going to succeed at the better teams with better players. And Chelsea are now reaping rewards of doing that. Like, some of the players that they've got are some of the best in the world. But they look like a very complete team now, I would say. And I'm going to compare this to Arteta again, just because it's an easy one to do. I think Maresca will have challenged/won more at the end of this season than Arteta has in all the seasons that he's been at Arsenal. I think they'll challenge for the title. I think they'll go far in Champions League. I think they'll go far in everything. The squad depth that they've got is very good. The 11 that they've got is great. And Maresca, now there's got a grip on him and he's got what he wants out of this side. They look a serious contender to everything, Chelsea. I've made a mistake. I meant to put Marco Silva in good. Apologies, everybody. He is a good manager, to be fair, Marco Silva, but I think he just exists, like similar to Fulham, similar to the squad level. Everything about Fulham screams mid-table, do nothing, forget they exist almost. So, apologies, Fulham fans, and Marco Silva is a good manager, but I think that's his level. Right, going back to it, I've got one more in great, and that manager for me is Nuno Espirito Santos, top draw. And it's not just because of the Forest thing either, because Wolves were, what did they have, Wolves top half a couple of times? I think, were they in Europe once, or were they really close to getting in there? I think he could turn any team in league into what Forest were last season. I truly do. I think if he went to West Ham, he could do it with them. I think he could get Fulham higher up. I think he could do it with Bournemouth. I do genuinely think Nuno could turn any team into what was the original Wolves, which is what he's done with Forest. There's a certain style. They're very different to a lot of other sides, which I like. They can go long quite often, which is you don't see a lot from a lot of top sides, and they soak up pressure and play on counters. They're a fun watch of Forest, and I think Nuno's just a great manager. Obviously, if you see my Prem predictions, I'm expecting Forest to slide down quite a bit this season to 13th, but that's due to expectation of what they need to do in Europe for the financial side of things, and I don't think they've got the squad to compete in both. So it will be no slight on Nuno if they do slide down table, because I'm expecting it. But I think he's a great manager. Hence the great. And then finally, well, the very nice category, I've got these two. I've got Arne Slot and Unai Emry. Slot, I know he's only been here for a year, so it's quite a claim to make when I've only known he exists for a year as well while he's been at Liverpool. But what I would say is that I think the Liverpool team from last season was fairly similar on a level to that of Manchester City and Arsenal, and they absolutely walked the league easily. No one got near them from 10th game, and then in March they took foot off gas. They literally could not care less if they tried. I'm convinced they were turning up pissed, some of them players, and they just walked it easily without even trying. Obviously, this season, with the money that's spent, I think the expectation is to win the league, and there's never going to be a Pep, I don't think, in comparison to what Pep has done for football at Barca, at Bayern Munich, and now Man City. He's just been a serial winner everywhere he's gone. I don't think he's ever finished lower than third in his entire life, and I can't see that changing. Slot, I do think, will get Liverpool back-to-back this season. But I still think that only warrants very nice. You're not even close to a Pep. But definitely, I think a lot better than the others, just based on how much he pulled in front last season and what he could do. And Emry, I mean, Emery's record speaks for itself. I think Villa have got one of the best managers in the division here. Can manage European expectation with league easily. And I think he consistently overachieves, if anything. I don't think I've seen him underachieve while he's been at Villa. Consistent European football. They bet PSG, who strolled to Champions League, a serious game. And all his previous successes speaks for itself. He's won Europa League numerous times. I think he'll end up winning some with Villa before he ends up leaving at some point. I think Emery's top draw. But that is that. That is where I'm at. So, best manager in league for me is Pep. The worst, Keith Andrews, but that's quite unlucky. And then the bandits, I've got Ruben Amorim, Graham Potter, Scott Parker, and Daniel Farke. Brush your hair. But then in silver and bronze behind Pep, I've got Emry and Slot. But that's that. Absolute pleasure. Love you all. Kiss. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy. It helps me out a lot. If any of these have been sacked, I apologise, but this is filmed a week in advance. Love you all. Kiss. Goodbye.
Say I'm a man. Yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us me tits.